in the matrix and my brain's up for the taking, but we don't do that. I know my facts. They say that he was elected, but where the stats at? They say that jab the only way to get your life back, but if you have a heart attack, then they will go to hide that. Look at the FDA acting like KKK, trying to run all our lives like we they brand new slaves. Lose the job, bent from plain segregation, all the same. They call themselves progressives, but they taking us all back again. Bring the world to darkness and sacrifice the children. Then when it's said and done, then you will never live with hope again. I say that we break the chains, we can't leave the world the same. Make love real again. As we fly above the truth, I ask of God, am I with you? I walk the path, go to the line, but still I feel that. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, denizens of the Chandler Crump channel across YouTube, Getter, Rumble, Facebook, Twitter. You are now tuned into our favorite twice weekly source for news, entertainment, politics, and all around good times, the Chandler Brief, where the dress code is, of course, business casual. Shout out to all the folks we have in the building, all of our return offenders, repeat offenders today, because this is it's an active crime scene. So shout out to our garçon, Aaron Behringer, because I have no idea what to do with my early pumpkin. I don't even know what that's about, and I don't think I want to know. But either way, I want to give a huge shout out to all my folks tuning in, as y'all seem to just so eloquently do here on our scheduled times of 4 p.m. on Mondays and Wednesdays and 8 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Huge shout out to the people we had tuning in yesterday. We had an amazing show. We actually hit 100 likes, which is really good for a Crump Live show. So I'm really excited to see it. Somebody called "Shove Your Vax Up Your Mask" on Getter just says, "Hey Chandler," and I had to give you a personal shout out because that name is just fantastic, wonderful. Can we, guys, let's get a round of applause for that name right there. If you haven't joined us over on one of our alt-tech platforms, you definitely should do it because you have the freedom to name yourself as something as outlandish as that. But anyways, we've got a ton of topics to jump into today and touch on that whole crime scene thing we've got going on because, yes, today we are here to induct a new member into the insurrectionist ultra MAGA squad, because apparently all it takes to do that is to interrupt Congress in any way, shape, or form, even if you're well within your legal right to do so in some ways. And that would be David Hogg. Yes, David Hogg. Yes, he was the one that did it. You guys, you gotta see this, okay? David Hogg gets escorted out after interrupting House Judiciary hearing on guns. Now, you guys may have heard a little bit about this. It's been trending all day, and basically, he's getting what he wants. He obviously wanted the attention from this, but we've got to touch on this. We really do, because I need you guys to really bake into your minds the exact comparisons we've made here. Just yesterday, AOC had this whole debacle about being arrested and cuffed, and while the DC Capitol Police may say, yes, she was arrested, but was she? Because she seems to be doing just fine. I don't know many people that can get arrested and then be tweeting about it at the exact same time they get arrested, posting the video with their fists up as they're getting arrested. So it seems like David Hogg saw all that happen with AOC yesterday and was like, girl, I gotta get in on that. I've never met David Hogg, but if I did, I'm sure he would sound a whole lot like that. Let's check out what David Hogg actually sounds like, though, because I'm sure he's going to try and make himself sound a whole lot tougher than that. But the word is still out.
Reiterating the points of mass shooters in your manifesto. The shooter at my high school, anti-Semitic, anti-black, and racist. The shooter in El Paso described it as an invasion. Guess what? Those guns are coming from the United States of America. They aren't coming from Mexico. They are not coming from Mexico. You are reiterating the points of a mass shooter, sir. Sir, you are perpetuating this violence. You need to realize this is not about a Democrat or Republican. Stop these things now. Go get it.
And I just love the signs that say shall not be infringed. I haven't heard too much about whatever was actually going on. David Hogg, unfortunately, has overshadowed it because that's what you get to do as some random leftist child that gets to scream and whine as much as they want. But looking in a little bit closer at this, you can zero in on the words he said. He was talking about how these guns aren't coming from Mexico. They're coming from America. This is what we're dealing with. It's our country. And while that's true, we do also have to understand that there's a good amount of violence coming from Mexico and other countries. Now, not necessarily these mass shootings, although I'm sure there are potentially some that could directly be attributed to, Mexican influence, illegal immigrants, whatever it may be. But looking a little bit deeper into this, we realize that illegal immigration is also a great issue that is just as, if not actually, no, definitely more violent and way more expensive than these mass shootings truly are. Now, expensive doesn't really matter. The money is one thing, whether who cares or not. But what really is important is the extinguishing of life. People that are losing their lives due to these issues. And mass shootings, as common as people like David Hogg would make you want to believe they are, and as much as you hear about them in the media because they seem to be happening back to back to back, that's because the stories of illegal immigrants beheading people, committing human trafficking, and doing unspeakable things to your daughters and your sons, and even yourselves possibly, that do not get reported in the media. He wants to personally bring up Mexico. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about all these different issues, because as much as you want to say, it's not all about Mexico. We got Venezuela, we got Brazil, we've got Costa Rica, we've got all those different countries of varying degrees, of course, that send their people, or I shouldn't even say send, but basically indirectly, they create such a bad situation in their country through, in some examples like Venezuela, socialist, dictatorial level rule, that these people are like, I got to get out of here and go to somewhere where I might have a little bit of freedom. And unfortunately, they don't have the time or the resources to go through the right means to do so, and they sometimes don't want to go to other countries, so they end up in a bad situation. But let's read a little bit more about this David Hogg story, because it was so big that even Fox had to write about it. But Fox doesn't actually have to write stories about, I don't know, certain songs hitting Billboard charts like Hunter Biden hacked did, but hey, it is what it is. Gun control activist David Hogg disrupted a congressional hearing on Wednesday on the topic of gun control. Hogg, who is a survivor of the 2018 mass shooting at Stoneman Douglas High School in Florida, accused housemakers of doing little to stop gun violence. "You are perpetuating violence. Stop these things now," Hogg said while being removed from the hearing room by security. The outburst came as the House Judiciary Committee was debating legislation that would ban assault weapons, a term used to describe semi-automatic rifles. That's just not true. Now, they could say that, but assault weapons can be anything. They could say it's used to describe it. They may use it that way, but that's not what it is. That's the sad part. During Wednesday's hearings, tempers ran high. Apart from Hogg's disruption, lawmakers accused each other of political maneuvering and being insensitive to gun violence. "We all respect the Second Amendment, but it's not without limits," said Representative David Cicilline. Once again, perpetuating the Joe Biden idea of not all amendments are absolute. Yeah, that one's never gonna fly with me. Imagine how much we could get accomplished if we clung to the desire to protect our children and communities as tightly as some of my colleagues cling to their rifles. He really thought he ate right there, if I can use Gen Z speak right there. He really thought he ate, but he didn't. The hearings came less than a month. Has passed. Fox, is that grammatically correct? Okay, anyways, since Biden signed the nation's first new gun control law in nearly 30 years. That bill, which passes GOP support, expands background checks and incentivizes states to adopt red flag laws, which are used to confiscate guns from those deemed dangerous. Republican supporters of that bill said that Congress learns from its success and look for other avenues of bipartisan cooperation rather than pushing pet issues that have no hope of becoming law. Hogg's outburst came while the Senate Judiciary was hearing testimony from the Capitol from the mayor of Highland Park, Illinois. The community was racked by a mass shooting over the July 4th weekend that left 7 dead and at least 48 wounded. Less than a minute is all it took for a person with an assault weapon to shoot 83 rounds into a crowd, forever changing so many lives, said Mayor Nancy Rotering. Is this freedom? And there's probably some massive ads right there in the conversation. All right, so is this freedom is what people ask. Unfortunately, it is. Freedom has a cost. But I think the cost of dictatorship and the cost of the lack of freedom is so much higher, as we can look at other countries, and even in history, where they took away the rights of those to have guns. Whether it be minorities within those countries or the majority of people that have guns, the effects are the exact same. Those people become oppressed, and we have even more terrible things that come of it after that. But they don't want to talk about that. Ooh, I didn't even notice I had 2 chats open. Okay, sorry for the people that are trying to chat and couldn't read it there. I just turned it off. Few Overcomers says, keep up the good fighting, USA Patriot Freethinker Chandler Crump. I will do it. B the Gardener says, guns do come from America, but mass pew-pewers come from the left. They come from all over, but we've heard a good amount of folks just crazy. Agarson says, why does he have to leave expressing himself? I don't know. St. June says, Underground Hog. That's a good one. Somebody said it's Groundhog Day or something like that. Aaron, who's right on the cusp of Gen Z, I think he says he thought he ate, but he left the table hungry. There you go. See, that's why I love my boy Aaron Barringer. He's young enough that he can really cooperate with the memes I be making on the show that a lot of my older viewers just simply wouldn't get, or they're like, ugh, I hear my granddaughter say that all the time, and I don't want to hear it, Chandler. You're losing my respect. Shout out to my folks watching us over on Rumble and Getter too. Not forgetting about y'all. I always check the chat to see if y'all are saying anything, so be sure to use the chat feature over there. But I don't know, guys. I wanted to touch a little bit on that as we move on to someone who definitely should not be touching anything.
Rub my leg down.
And you ain't black.
Yeah, that's good old Uncle Joe Biden. Now, this story is gonna knock your socks off. Let me tell you something. This story is so outlandish, so crazy, that I have to play an ad before we get to it. We'll be right back after these quick messages from our sponsors, folks. Hey freethinkers, Chandler here, and welcome to the brand new one-of-a-kind commercial break. Here on the Chandler Crump channel, we pride ourselves on straight-talking nature, adherence to facts, resistance to media programming, and a loyalty to the red, white, and blue, above all. These live shows are what I consider to be my job, and I only get paid on tips around here. So if you think I've done a good job or want to encourage me to do even better, then check out the description of this video and go to donorbox.org/support-Chandler. This is our donation processor and the one-stop shop to support all things Chandler. If you choose to, you can even have your name appear on stream to flaunt that you support our show. This is of course the illustrious Hall of Heroes bar above me. Another path to the Hall of Heroes is of course Cash App. My Cash App code is $ChandlerCR and is visible on every one of my streams. Thank you guys so much. Now, let's get back to the show. I promised to you guys, I try not to do so many of those, but sometimes it just needs to be said. I want to give a huge shout out to our current Hall of Heroes members. They are currently duking it out for the top spot. Mark Cook and St. June both at $100, so big shout out to them. St. June is actually in the building right now. He says, I don't get it, but since Chandler said it, it must be something smart. St. June is always just flattering me. In fact, I think he's been doing it since at least 2020, maybe even 2019, so he has been a long time supporter and viewer of the channel, so shout out to him. Aaron says, since it is the break, anyone know what to do with Halloween pumpkins in June? Pumpkin pie. That's the best I've got. I don't even know. Do you make pumpkin pie out of pumpkins? Somebody tell me. That sounds like a really dumb question. I will have the most random, deep knowledge about like the most esoteric and unnecessary things to know about. But when it comes to some simple things in life, like how to tie a tie or maybe about pumpkin pie, I will have no idea. But I could spit some great bars for y'all. Keep an eye out for that. But let's jump into this story right now from Joe Biden. Oh my gosh, guys, this one is out of this world. Biden says, I and so many people I grew up with have cancer. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna play the sad song. It appears that Joe Biden does indeed have cancer. I'm ready to cry, folks. How could this happen to the President of the United States? I mean, didn't he say he was going to cure cancer? How could this happen to him? It was probably those dang ultra magas that gave it to him. Let's hear what he said though, shall we?
Off the window. That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer.
Let's run that back, shall we?
Window. That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer. And why can't for the longest time Delaware had the highest cancer rate in the nation. Off the window.
One more time. I gotta hear this. Just really put on your thinking caps, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and listen closely.
That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer.
Now, the White House hasn't confirmed nor denied Joe Biden has cancer, but I'm pretty sure they're legally obligated to disclose a life-threatening disease, such as that being diagnosed to the President of the United States in any way, shape, or form. And if they were found to have been obscuring the fact that he did indeed have cancer, they would all face so much worse than the January 6th committee. At least they would if it was Trump. If it was Biden, maybe it would get swept under the rug because there are a lot of theories that Biden has got some pretty nasty stuff. And sure, they made the same theories about Trump, but with Biden, he isn't constantly out here saying he has cancer or anything like that. Or I'd say Trump isn't the one. Biden is the one constantly out here saying he has cancer. I'm sounding like I've got dementia the way I'm talking today, but seriously. Live look at the White House comms team. Days since last incident. Our last nonsense. Oh, that's...
Go, you know the thing.
Ooh, yeah, that's gotta hurt. This is from The Office, right? I've never watched The Office. I've tried my best not to. So many girls of my generation are obsessed with this show, so it's kind of like it's like a status symbol to not watch this show. But Libs of TikTok says Biden has cancer. Everyone's like, he just said it. Apparently, someone said all I heard was mumbling, as per usual. He doesn't know what day it is. Yes, and it's because Delaware has the highest cancer rate in the nation, which and Biden said it, so it has to be true, and I'm wishing for the best for Joe Biden. But unfortunately, everyone realizes that if the president says something, you've got to talk about it. This video got 500,000 views from Greg Price, 6,100 likes, 1,700 retweets. And it now is in a New York Post article. We've got to see this, shall we? President Biden said Wednesday that he has cancer, making either a gaffe or a stunningly casual health announcement during a speech about global warming in Massachusetts. Because yes, this wasn't during some random Joe Biden let's chat town hall type of thing. This was during a climate change emergency speech thingamabob, he said, in the front of a river with boats behind him, which are pretty bad for the environment, so I've heard. Biden was describing the health effects of emissions from oil refineries near his childhood home in the Claymont, Delaware. That's why I and so many dang other people I grew up with have cancer, and why for the longest time Delaware had the highest cancer rate in the nation, said Joe, as he then went on to strut around for pictures next to abandoned buildings? Or is that under... looks abandoned, but it might be under construction, I don't know. The president was speaking near a former coal power plant that's being converted to support offshore wind farms. Biden, who is the oldest U.S. president, and his mental acuity is frequently a matter of public debate. He says, however, that he intends to seek a second term in 2024, and his defenders note that he struggled for years with gaffes. Why is that supposed to make things better? He's been like this for years. It's no different than before. If it's no different than before, then this is even worse. The more time his brain and his body has to stew in his age and current condition means things are only going to get worse. How old will Joe Biden be in 2024? If he's being elected in 2024, he will be, drumroll please. I know I still have it. Where is that? Where is my drumroll please? 81? That's how old he should be turning? 2022, that's this year. He had his birthday this year. He turned 79. He turns 80 in 2023. When he will supposedly declare his second term. He says intends to, but he has to launch his bid. And then in 2024, after he's elected, because it appears his birthday is before the election, he will be 82. Let's just, real quick. Biden birth date. His birth date is November 20th, 1942. Okay, so he'll turn... wait, no. Okay, hold on. No way. Guys, my math was wrong. My math was wrong, because he actually... he turns 80 this year. So that means he'll be, quote-unquote, re-elected 2024, November or so. And then a few days after that, a couple weeks, supposedly, he will turn 83.
Stop the cap. Stop the cap.
That ain't gonna happen. Come on, guys. That is not gonna happen. Are you serious? Biden age in 2024. Says about 82. But then Biden age in November 2024. Oh, whatever. Trump says life begins about at 80. That's funny. They won't give you that, but holy. November 20th, 1972. He'll be 83 after his election. Guys, come on now. Come on now. Aaron says that practice speed at shutting down that pop-up was truly impressive. Yeah, I've been using the New York Post for a while. I'm sick and tired of it. Garcon says if he has cancer, it's the voter fraud organization. True. I hear a lot of people saying Biden is the cancer to America, and to that one I say you might not be too far off.
And you ain't black.
Yeah, I don't know, guys. Come on, 83. He's setting records now. Every single day he's in office, he's pushing the record forward for the oldest living president ever. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? But of course, if we're Lady Liv says just talking about the most popular president ever after. Kyo Kami says, what's up, people? Yeah, I don't know. Few Over says, let me guess. If Biden has cancer, it will be cancer in the brain. Quote unquote brain. That's a good one right there. That is a good one right there. Let me check and make sure we're not missing out on any donations. I got to make sure I'm reading those out loud. We do, of course, support Cash App donations to anybody that uses those. So that's right up there for all the folks there. But let's move on. Since we're talking about elections, we got to talk about another thing, which I think sets a very interesting stage for the next election and also allows you to watch the previous election. Senators announced a bipartisan bill to stop candidates from stealing elections. Oh, this is good. After months of negotiating, a group of senators announced two proposals Wednesday designed to close gaps in federal law and prevent future candidates from stealing elections. The measures, called the Electoral Count Reform and Presidential Transition Improvement Act, and the Enhanced Election Security and Protection Act, are led by Senators Suzanne Collins from Maine and Joe Manchin from West Virginia. The bill seeks to close loopholes in election law that then President Donald Trump and his allies tried to exploit to keep him in power despite his defeat in the 2020 election. The first bill would clarify the vice president's role in counting electoral college votes, raise the bar for members of Congress to object, and try to prevent fake slates of electors from interfering in the process. The second is aimed at protecting election workers. So let's zero in on that first part. The first bill, which should be the, the Electoral Count Reform and Presidential Transition Improvement Act. So it's first at the vice president's role in counting electoral college votes. Now, many people, including President Trump, stated that if the vice president determined that there is so much mess going on in an election, he could determine that he could throw the whole thing out and throw it to separate electors instead. And then those electors could then all object, and then it would go to the House to vote. Which is what was and is currently outlined in that bill, which was passed in the 1800s. But everybody was like, no, the vice president doesn't have the power to do this, and even Mike Pence, although if he wanted to do it, he could have done it, and they just wouldn't have to wait to see who would check it, although that might have left things in an interesting place, and that's probably why he didn't do it. But the act did state that he had the power to do so. These people are now erroneously claiming that Pence did not have the power to do it, and they are going to write it out of law with another bill. Then they're also going to raise the bar for members of Congress to object, making it so that Marjorie Taylor Greene and other people who get elected can't, or I don't even think Marjorie did it, but it was other folks that could have, and that did, or some of them that didn't, to not be able to object anymore, because all they had to do was say, I object to this, and then we had to debate about it, and it would take some time. It's going to raise the bar so that you have to do some more to do it, or you might not be able to do it at all. We'll have to see what's actually in the legislation. I may or may not read into it, but I think this is already so much mess. And then to prevent fake slates of electors from interfering in the process. So even if the vice president did decide there's some mess with it to throw it to something else, it wouldn't even be able to go to another slate of electors, which they call fake. Shows you how messy this whole thing is. The bill comes as the House's January 6th committee prepares to hold its last public hearing, at least for the time being, on Thursday, outlining evidence it has received in connection to what it calls a plot to overturn the results of the 2020 election. Through numerous meetings and debates among our colleagues, as well as conversations with a wide variety of election experts and legal scholars, we have developed legislation that establishes clear guidelines for our system of certifying and counting electoral votes for president and vice president. So much words. Collins, Manchin, and the rest of the Senate group said in a joint statement, we urge our colleagues in both parties to support these simple common sense reforms. Yada yada, preventing fake electors, all this mess. You can read some more about it yourself if you guys want to, but I wanted to touch on this to really show you how scared these people were of Trump being able to hold on to power. Now, there was so much mess in the 2020 election, and of course, everybody's going to tell you there was the safest, securest election we've ever had in American history, and I could talk about that all day, but then I'd get another YouTube strike like that. But there was so much doubt, very little trust in the system after all that, so you can't blame the vice president for even considering being like, okay, this is a mess. Let's look at some of our other options. But of course, these Democrats and this establishment wants to pat themselves on the back and make sure that no one else can ever have anything to do with maybe securing an election. They want to fortify an election, as Joe Biden said, the most fortified election in American history.
Stop the cap.
I don't know, can they be more clear about it, folks? I mean, they literally want to close off all the loopholes that could potentially be utilized in case we see some very large inaccuracies in an election, like hundreds of thousands of votes being sent to places without addresses and then being received back, all for Biden. That's what happened. We're not allowed to talk about it, though. Of course, all this mess comes as we look deeper and deeper and closer as 2024 looms ahead. Will this actually pass the House or Senate? We will see. But one thing you need to do is call your senators, call your House representative, and tell them do not vote yes on this if it even makes it out of committee or anything like that. We'll have to see what happens, but keep a close eye on this. I know I will be covering it because this is big. Binge M74 says, we'll believe it when I see it. Agar San says, Team Trump gonna present the evidence at the right time. 2020 election will be fixed. We'll see. Passa says, can't trust Susan Collins. Robert R says, watching the decline of America. Mariam Hanan says, hi, sweetheart. Nice to see you, Mariam. Agar San says, Democrats want Biden gone now. Only some of them. Manchin says, or Garson says, Joe Manchin is America's hero. Manchin blocked Biden's building back better nonsense. He's blocked some things. He's been good, but he is still a Democrat and he's still voting for some madness. One thing I want to touch quickly on as we transition to our Truth Social segment, Donald Trump posted this to his social media today, which is an image of Republican primary poll. Now, I do have to admit this is a screenshot of Twitter, as you can see, but hey, it's good that he's posting on Truth Social regardless. 2024 Republican primary poll, Donald Trump is at 53%, Ron DeSantis at 23%, Mike Pence at 7%, Ted Cruz at 3%, all that good stuff stacking up on the building today. I'm getting a little distracted because we have a Cash App donation, so shout out to Olivia, who sends $2. Big thank you. I just received that. I'm going to add you to the Hall of Heroes today. So big shout out. Any message or anything like that? Nope. Big thank you, though, Olivia. We'll add you right now. But this is what Trump is posting to the social media platform. As you guys know, the 2024 scene is really starting to heat up, and people are wondering how things are going to go. And there's a lot of questions. I'm going to copy this and then Olivia for two. Oh, hold up. Did she just double stack on it? Or did we receive another one? Okay, Olivia just double stacked on it. We just received the other 20, so now it's 22 from Olivia. Big thank you. I really appreciate it, Olivia. Shout out to all the folks that donate to support the show. Mark Cook is being knocked out of the running for today, being replaced by St. June. So congratulations, St. June, and you can thank Olivia for your inadvertent, what's the word I'm looking for? Promotion you got just there. Shout out to Olivia. Really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Are you in the chat, Olivia? Let us know. Lady Liv says, okay, oh, there you go, Lady Liv. Okay, there you go. Says, was supposed to be 20, haha, I fixed it. Thank you. I appreciate 22. That's even better. 2022. There you go. I consider it a good omen for the midterms coming in just a few months. We're keeping an eye on things. Primaries are starting to happen all across America. We had the Georgia primaries. I know we've got plenty of Florida folk. Those are happening in August. Some more primaries happening all across the nation. I'm really excited to see it. And then the midterms in November. I'm excited, folks. I'm scared, I'm nervous, but I'm excited. It's going to be big. And of course, like we've been talking about 2024 as well. Rocket Man Rocky Matrix says, where is Rand Paul? I guess he ain't even on there. If Liz Cheney's on there, Rand Paul should be on there. I've been recently looking back at some of the 2016 stuff with Trump and like laughing at some of his hilarious funny moments, including against Rand Paul, where he basically called him ugly, which is just, come on, guys. So I definitely want there to be a good amount of people campaigning in 2024, just so we can get some more Trump goodness, and also so that we can actually see him bring back that 2016 energy that we so need. We need it. We need it, folks. We really do need it. And also, Mike Pompeo was another name I've heard being floated around. Obviously a great establishment choice, but he's not listed on this Republican primary poll yet, so we'll have to see what happens. He probably just wasn't an option. But Liz Cheney being up there, Mitt Romney and Nikki Haley, yeah, I'm gonna give this some good laughs, and I think we can all collectively say nope to that one. Collectively. But now we move on to another story involving elections, although this one might be a little bad. And Rocket Man says, Donald Trump is weak on the Second Amendment. I agree. He definitely has some room for improvement there. He pushed some red flag laws. Not a fan of that. The Second Amendment is something I definitely default to liberty and freedom on, and I don't agree with Trump on that. Oof, we've got some folks over on Getter. I haven't been checking your messages yet. Shove Your Vax has been commenting like crazy. SC Mountains, Mad Mom 18 says he said he had to wipe oil off his windshield. I don't even know what that's about, but that's funny. Shove Your Vax says, did you see Bannon's speech today? If fair elections existed, there wouldn't be a Democratic Party. That's fire. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I have not seen Steve Bannon's speech today, but I have heard a little bit about him and the January 6th committee and something like that. I'll have to look a bit more into it, but I know he's in a little bit of hot water. I've seen some stuff going on. I'll have to check that out, but definitely thanks for bringing that on my radar. And Mad Mom says, hashtag Cheney chump. That's a good one. All right, but instead of talking about the Cheney chump, we got to talk about the, what's a good word that can rhyme or be alliterative with Maxine Waters? Maxine the Mump? Kind of rhymes with chump. I don't know. Maxine Waters paid daughter over $15,000 with campaign funds during Q2, says the FEC. This might be bad. This might be bad. Let's check this out. Democratic California Representative Maxine Waters paid her daughter over $15,000 with campaign funds during the most recent quarter, according to the FEC. The latest FEC records show Waters is still paying her daughter, Karen Waters, a total of $16.5 thousand during Q2 from April 1st through June 30th. The records became available July 15th. The purpose of the payment says Slate Mailer Management Fee. Waters has been paying her daughter with campaign funds for years. In 2018, the Daily Caller News Foundation broke the news that Waters was paying her daughter more than $100,000 in campaign funds during that election cycle. Holy crap. Democratic Connecticut Representative Jahana Hayes, who was caught paying her family tens of thousands of dollars since entering Congress, after the Daily Caller reviewed, has also continued to pay her children with campaign funds. During Q2, Hayes paid her son, David Crenshaw, $1,000 or $1,200 from her campaign fund. Since entering Congress, she has paid her son over $18,000. Man, I wish I could get paid like that. It appears, even though it's been put out there, there's nothing wrong with it. Is there no ethics violations about that? Two House representatives paying their family, and I don't know, are their family members actually doing any work for them, or are they just getting paid to be paid? I mean, I've never been paid by representatives or anything like that, so I couldn't tell you. But man, that is at least not national House representatives. I don't know. That sounds like some weird stuff. And then last but not least, as we touch on the House briefly, I was debating whether or not to talk about this story, but I think it's something we can bring up real quick to show you guys what the House is up to right now. The House has now passed a same-sex marriage bill with 47 Republicans and then every Democrat voting in favor of it. This is a story right here. The House on Tuesday passed the Respect for Marriage Act, which would protect marriage equality by repealing the Defense of Marriage Act and providing federal protections for same-sex marriage. The bill passed 267 to 157, with 47 Republicans joining every Democrat voting in favor of the bill. Congressional Democrats mounted the legislative response this week to a concurring opinion by Justice Clarence Thomas, suggesting that the Supreme Court should involve themselves in access to contraception and same-sex marriage, and that they should be reconsidered, with lawmakers holding votes on a pair of bills that aim to address concerns that more rights could be rolled back. While the Supreme Court struck down sections of DOMA in U.S. v. Winster and Obergefell v. Hodges, the law still remains on the books. The lower chamber will also take up later this week the Right to Contraception Act, which, if passed, would create a statutory right for people to access birth control and protect a range of contraceptive methods, as well as ensure healthcare providers have a right to provide contraception services to patients. House Democrats are not waiting for elections to protect our rights and freedoms. We're fighting now to keep abortion and birth control legal and stop corporate price gouging. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi tweeted Monday, "We won't let Republicans crush our rights and pad corporate pockets on our watch." I think it's kind of dumb, honestly. And many people have called it dumb, including Marco Rubio, who is trending #1 on Twitter for calling it a stupid waste of time. As much as Clarence Thomas may say we need to review these different rulings we've had in the past and may have other sort of rulings that might not have been good ideas, they aren't trying to come and say, all right, well, if you're gay, you can't be married anymore. They aren't trying to come and say you can't get birth control or anything like that anymore. They're really not. No one's in support of that because so many Republicans live their lifestyles like that. The Republican Party is not all homophobic and whatever it is, and I'm not advocating for a big tent or anything like that, but there's a lot of gay Republicans that are married to members of the same sex. There's a lot of people that are using birth control that will still vote for Trump and anything of that nature. It's just not in their guidelines anymore. It's not a super moral thing to be a right-wing Republican anymore. It's just not how things work. So they could say whatever they want, but that's just not how people believe anymore. House Minority Whip Steve Scalise, a Republican from Louisiana, said most Republicans will likely oppose the bill involving contraception, but he predicted ahead of the vote that GOP lawmakers will be split on the same-sex proposal. Both measures are still expected to clear the Democratic-led House and join a pair of bills designed to protect abortion access that passed the House last week and are awaiting action in the Senate. But with Republicans and Democrats each controlling 50 seats in the chamber, the path to winning approval in the Senate is a difficult one, with the filibuster still intact. Support from at least 10 Senate Republicans is needed for any bill to advance, while the two measures involving abortion, one would enshrine the right to an abortion into federal law, and the other would ban states from interfering with a woman's right to travel, have little chance of becoming law. It's unclear whether the bills protecting gay marriage and access to contraception will meet the same fate. I don't know, with Marco Rubio calling it a dumb waste of time, I think we could see how this is going to go. Honestly, it's unnecessary. It is a dumb waste of time, and it's going to further federalize things that don't need to be federalized, don't need to be codified. But, of course, the Democrats are going to keep pushing for whatever they want to believe in, and I'm sure even if they might have had the Capitol Police come and remove David Hogg, they're secretly in the background like, yeah, go ahead, come back next week. But when it comes to grandmas who show up in the Capitol building to do literally the exact same thing that David Hogg did, just with a mob of other people, they get thrown in jail. Terminally ill with cancer, but they get thrown in jail. Where's David Hogg and AOC going? Back home to their McMansion or their very large apartment because they've got all those donor dollars to do whatever they want to do with March for Our Lives and AOC's Green New Deal efforts. They can do whatever they want. It's a sad tale. But anyways, I wanted to highlight those stories for you guys today just to show you that, well, these people get away with whatever they want, and we'll just have to do what we can to fight back against it. Huge shout out to Aaron Barringer, Fewcomers, RG Merkel, Aaron Berger again, Rocket Man Rocky in the chat, holding it down for me. All my folks over on Getter, Shove Your Vax says Maxine Dump. That one's funny. And my folks over on Rumble as well for tuning in and holding it down with us today. I also want to give a huge shout out to our current Hall of Heroes members, St. June and Olivia, for donating to support the show, both of them in the last 24 hours. So I really appreciate them. Of course, the Hall of Heroes is always up for grabs. So if you want to dethrone our queen, Olivia, then you can do so right now in the description below. We'll be back again tomorrow at 8 p.m. for our show once again. And then after that, I'll be gone for the weekend at a very fun event. If you want to know some more about that, make sure you follow me over on Getter, Truth Social, and my various other social media where I keep you guys posted about what I'm up to. But aside from all that, thank you guys so much for joining us this afternoon. I'll catch you next time, free thinkers. Don't forget to spread the virus of intelligence. Peace.